Yasvinavaditamastu Mavedvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarabham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Shankaram Loka Shankaram Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadguru Brahma Vidvaram. We have learned 10 verses together. Let's chant them. Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnana-jana-shalakaya Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Stavaram Jangamam Vyaptam Yathit Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmaya Vyapira Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sarvashruti Shiroratna Virajita Padangujaha Vedantam Pujasuyo Yada Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chaitanya Shashvata Shanto Vyomadito Nirandanaha Vidulalatari Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Annatha Shri Jagannatha Annatha Shri Jagannatha Padguru Shri Jagadguruho Padguru Shri Jagadguruho Padatma Sarvabhutatma Padatma Sarvabhutatma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gururadinadishta Gururadinadishta Guru Paramadaivatam Guru Paramadaivatam Guru Parataram Nasti Guru Parataram Nasti. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. So the 11th verse is Naguroradhikam Tattva. There is no greater truth than the Guru Tattva. Naguroradhikam Tapa. No greater austerity than the austerity of dropping the ego which the Guru has done. And there is no greater knowledge than knowledge of the self. Because that leads to the state of fulfillment, in which nothing more remains to be gained. So salutations to such a great master who has realized the truth, who makes me also realize that. Annatha Shri Jagannatha, who is the Guru of my This Guru is Jagat Guru, meaning Guru is never an individual. Guru is always the Lord manifesting through the individual. So the bhava that the disciple always has is Guru Sakshat Parabrahma. So Mandata Shri Jagatnatha, Madguru Shri Jagat Guru. And what is that Guru make me realize? Madatma Sarvabhutatma. The self in me is the self in all. There is only one absolute truth. So salutation to that Guru who makes me realize what the oneness is. Guru Adi Anadishcha. Guru is the one who is the beginning and who is beginningless, both. As a form, we may say Guru has a birth and Guru drops the body, but Guru is never the form. As a formless truth, everything begins from the truth, and that truth by itself is beginningless. Guru Adi Anadishcha. Guru Paramadevata. Guru is the supreme deity. Guru Parataram Nasti. There is nothing greater than the Guru. Tasmai Shri Gurave. So for the disciple who follows Vedanta, the Guru is the altar of surrender. And so the last verse is of surrender. That the Guru is the mother, the Guru is the father, the Guru is the friend, relative, is the knowledge as well as one's own wealth. The Guru is everything. So surrender to that Guru. So this is the Guru Stotra. In the drive there is also this MP3 file. So if you want to listen to it every day, and you can also learn from there. Next week we will take up the Padukas. So our lesson today is fourth lesson. Path to perfection, mechanism of action and karma. So each individual is nothing but the mind and the intellect. We are what our mind and intellect is. Body is only the tool. So when we communicate right now, we are using body only as a tool. But what is communicating? The mind is communicating with your mind. Even when we work in the world, even when we enjoy anything in the world, what is essentially happening is the mind and intellect which is communicating with the objects. And so it is that very important it is to keep this mind and intellect healthy. Because our experiences of life are all governed by the quality of this mind and intellect. If we have happy thoughts, we feel happy. If we have sad thoughts, we feel sad. External situation may be anything, but how we respond to it, that is our mind's texture. So to keep this mind and intellect healthy and happy, the knowledge of the scriptures is meant for that. Sometimes we think that it's all religion. Nowadays, a lot of people think like that. That scripture is not required, religion is not required. If one is able to keep the mind and intellect healthy, happy, and integrated, then of course not required. But most of the time we see that we don't even know what is the cause of this integration, why the mind is acting like this, how to transform the mind. Those things we are not aware. So scripture is the subjective science which helps me to keep this mind and intellect healthy. Like we have, a computer or a phone. So the operating system is what is going to run that. Otherwise, phone or the computer is only the hardware. The software is what is actually inside that is running this whole. So the mind and intellect is like that. It's the software, and that has to be healthy. If the software gets corrupt, then the equipment will not function properly. The same way. So scriptures help us to keep that mind healthy. And it is only the understanding of this mind and intellect's capabilities, especially human mind intellect, is a very powerful ability. See, no other creature can transform an adverse circumstance and respond to it positively and even change the circumstance outside. But human being can do that. That capability also that we have, many times we are not aware of that capability. As we go along in this chapter, we will see this ability to be able to fight against the circumstances and achieve what we want, retaining our positive attitude that only the human mind has. If an adverse circumstances or a stimuli reaches an animal, the animal cannot change it. Animal has to just deal with it. But a human being can change. So that freedom is there only in a human being. Hundreds and thousands of years ago, how the honeybee is making the beehive, it is still making it the same way. If it rains, the honeybee cannot do anything. It will rain. Now it has to deal with it. But human being finds so many methods. So any adverse circumstances we face, it can push us to discover something, change it, because we have that capability, the mind and intellect, which can change things, especially in that the buddhi that we have. And hence it is that this ability to change myself from inside and outside also, I have to tap that potential of mine. So scriptures are one of the ways by which I can do that. And how do I do that? Through the proper study, I can understand my mind, rate the emotions, and increase our discriminative ability. So this capability to control my emotions, not to become impulsive, as well as to invoke vivekshan, the buddhi, discriminative power, what is temporary, what is permanent. So the ability to let go of the temporary attachment, to pursue the permanent. What is the real source of happiness and sorrow? So drop the real source of sorrow and seek the real source of happiness. What is a means? What is a goal? All these things the human intellect is capable of. Discrimination. Ultimately, what is permanent? What is impermanent? Atma, Anatma. So these things that human mind and intellect is able to invoke within itself and achieve greater and greater things. And all of these have a lot of relevance in our daily life. Today, the means have become the goal. Suppose I ask you, wealth, is it a means or a goal? Generally, we answer means. In satsang, it is a means. But outside satsang, that is the goal. Enjoyment, is it means or goal? Kama, artha and kama, they both are means. But our whole life will center around that. How much did I enjoy? Which is nothing wrong. Enjoyment is fine, but it cannot be the goal of life. So means and goal also one doesn't know the distinction. So when we come to scripture, then we understand, oh, there are four pursuits, artha, kama, dharma, moksha. And that there is something called bondage, and then I am stuck in that and I need freedom. None of that we know till we come to scripture. And hence it is that through proper study, we can rein the emotions. What happened to Arjun? He was so impulsive at that point in time in the war, he wanted to run away. He prepared himself for that war, but his emotions overwhelmed him. He wanted to run away. What helped him actually is what we study as the Gita. The knowledge that Bhagavan gave him helped him to check his emotion, increase his discriminative power, and then his decision became objective. Till he was acting impulsive, his decision was also impulsive. And so he didn't feel positive, he didn't want to face his duty, he wanted to escape. But the knowledge that Bhagavan gave him that strength. So this knowledge of the scripture is a very special knowledge and it empowers this mind. In this software, many times there are bugs. If you don't update the software, then the whole thing will run with bugs, a lot of problems. Our mind has a lot of bugs, a lot of wrong notions are there in the mind. Scripture knowledge is to update all the wrong notions, remove them. Then that system functions efficiently. So in that way, the mind becomes weak because of abuse or disuse, and the individual becomes very, very weak, susceptible to the world, and simple circumstances give a lot of stress. In today's world, people go through stress so commonly. Stress, worry, depression, anxiety. Why? Because his mind and intellect is not properly understood and integrated. So detachment is one of the very powerful ways by which one can learn how to stand apart. We generally cling to various things. And when we cling to various things, then we get bound and we feel miserable. So if you think about it, what actually brings us sorrow? If a stranger tells me you are an idiot, do I feel sad? But if my spouse tells me you are an idiot, then how can he or she say that? And I am sad, why? How did she know? But the reality is that the point is I am attached to that person, so it pinches more, or it hurts more. So it's not what that person is saying, that is one part, a very small part. It is my attachment that brings that reaction, that's all. So if we learn this art of detachment, then we understand, okay, the control is in my hands. Nothing outside can actually make me feel elated or miserable, independent of my thinking. As I'm thinking, as I'm attached, as I'm detached, that will determine. And hence it is that when we learn this art of detachment, as we go along, we will learn that how to interact with the world, yet not be affected by the world. Be steady, be strong, be balanced, and then respond appropriately to the world. So this capability is what the scriptural knowledge is about, to be detached. But before we get that, we have to also understand that what is that which is making me respond in this way. See, attachment is one thing, but why is it that I'm attached to certain things? So two questions here. What is that which creates the difference in the quality and texture of the mind and intellect of different individuals? Suppose we have 20 of us here. Each of us has a unique quality of mind and intellect. So what is that which makes us all different? Our body is made up of same 5 elements. Mind also is actually made up of 5 elements. What is that in which is creating the difference? The variety in each individual is coming because of what?
My reaction to something because of my mind and intellect. How I respond to something.
See, how I respond to something is based on something inside my mind, which is what is the question then. What is that which is making me respond the way I respond? And how is it that I am unique from the others?
Actually, the way we perceive things.
What makes me perceive things in the way we perceive? Suppose I see this bottle, you see this bottle. Both of us are perceiving the bottle. You may perceive it from a different standpoint. I may perceive it from a different standpoint. The question is, what is the reason behind the differences in our perception?
Our previous sanskaras.
Wonderful. So that is one aspect, previous samskaras. Any other reason? Why does a person desire something? Suppose I tell you about this camp. Some of you may desire and say, yeah, I want to come for this camp. Some of you will desire, no, I don't want to go for the camp. You won't have a desire. Object is the same. Why some people get attracted and some don't? And we get different happiness from this camp. You may get Correct. So why is it like that? The object is the same. Why is it that you are deriving a different sense of happiness and I derive a different sense of happiness? Bringing past experience. Yeah, we're coming back to that same past stars. Correct. Upbringing, see, upbringing, environment, all that influences, but very less. Like same upbringing, let us say two children in the family get the same upbringing, but they respond very differently. The goal also, why is the goal different for each person? We are coming to the most fundamental question, which in Vedanta we call vasana. That what is the difference is a vasana. And what is a vasana? When the samskara becomes repeated, that becomes a vasana. So the difference between a vasana and samskara is that samskara is an impression. Vasana is a deep impression. So we say that this is one factor. If you remember when we did the BMI chart, below O is the V, vasana. And below V is the body, mind, intellect. Perceiver, feeler, thinker, object, emotion, thought. So the difference in the texture and the quality of our thoughts is because of the vasana, V. Why is the mind intellect different? Because of the vasana. So these are called inherent and innate tendencies. They are there in each one. What has collected them in the march of evolution. So these are inclinations or unmanifest tendencies, channels of thinking or habits. These are all different ways to understand. Habits are the most simplest way to understand. So this is our maybe let us say sixth class, for example. So when you had the first class, 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday, you came to let us say the May or so. So that first class was the samskar on the mind. Then second class, little more deeper. Third class, little more deeper. Fourth class, more. By the time now sixth, seventh class, now there's an impression. Saturday morning means I have to get up, go to the class. Now that has become a habit. And when the course gets over, the next Saturday after the course gets over, again you will get up, but it's there is no class. Because now it has become a habit over some 30, 40 classes that we do, and it's become a habit. So habit is an external expression of something that is consistently going on inside, in the head. So impressions, when they become stronger, they become our channels. Thought will go in that direction. And that thought then will manifest in a certain habit. So these are our innate, inherent tendencies, as well as something which we cultivate. So it is a mixture of both. Something that I have taken, I have brought forward from the past, as well as what I am cultivating today. This factor we have to understand. So today we will take some time to understand this aspect. So this vasana manifests in stages, and this is what governs our responses. Why a particular person responds in a particular way is because of their inherent vasanas, as well as their present knowledge of what they are gaining in today's circumstance. Based on that will be the response. So how does this vasana manifest in our personality? Now, like a seed, when the seed is sown, it will manifest in stages. It doesn't give rise to the tree immediately. So small, it will sprout, it will become a sapling, and then it comes out, and the plant comes, and slowly it grows. In stages, it will manifest. Finally, it brings out the fruit. In the same way, the vasana manifests first as a desire in the intellect. I want something. I want to enjoy something. I want to get something. I want to go somewhere. And specifically, if you have a specific vasana, it will manifest as that thing. I want to eat sweets, or I want to see some movie, or I want to go for a job, or I want to play a sport, anything. it manifests as specific desire. Because then I have those specific vasanas which are manifest. Once it manifests as a desire, then it will lead to thought agitation in the mind. Because to fulfill that desire, now I will start thinking. Suppose I want to play a sport. Now the desire is I want to play, let us say, cricket. Now the thoughts will start manifesting. I will start thinking, that where do I play, which place we will go, what will be the cost, I have to buy this cricket here, this, that. All the thoughts will start. And those thoughts, when we sustain, then they manifest as actions of the body. So in these three stages, the vasana manifests. That which was unmanifest manifests first as a desire in the intellect, then as the thoughts, then as the action. So desire, thoughts, actions are the effect. What is the cause of the vasana? If I want to transform the person, what do I have to transform? Desire, thoughts, action to transform? Transform. The deepest level. The cause I have to transform, then the effect will transform. No doubt we can start by transforming actions, thought, desire, but if we stop there, it will not be enough. Which is what happens a lot of times when we say, positive thinking, don't think negative, come on, you be positive all the time. It's a good thing to start off. But if my vasana is not purified, if the source is having the impurity, the effect will have. The cause is having impurity, the effect will keep having. So I may keep saying, think positive, but if vasana is not positive, then that positive thinking also will not work. So it has a certain limitation. And if I handle only the effect, which is why one has to understand, these are the type of tendencies which are there. And now, how do I change that? So that is what the rest of the whole Vedantic knowledge is, that how to transform these vasanas. So that then the desire, thoughts, actions, and the personality fully transforms.
Once the actions are done, doesn't it lead to more desire because the actions are fruitful or something? Then it will cultivate more vasanas as well.
Yes. So we'll come to that. There's a mechanism of action, that whole cycle is there. It will influence. And which is why we have to learn where to cut it. It's like a vicious circle. Vasana leads to desire, leads to thought, leads to action, leads to result, which again increases vasana. Now, is there where to cut this vicious circle?
Vasana is always negative.
No.
Positive. You are here because you have sattvic vasanas for satsang. The vasana is just a cause. Positive and negative is the texture of that. Suppose coffee I want to drink. So there's a coffee vasana. So first time I drank coffee, I equated coffee is equal to relaxation. Coffee is equal to happiness. Coffee is equal to a good sweet taste. Now that's the impression in my head. Next time I wanted that coffee impression vasana will create a coffee desire. Then I will have thoughts, I will go get it. Then I will have to action that the body level drink it. So it's just an impression. Good or bad depends on what type of vasana it is that we have cultivated.
So how can a child will change his vasana? Because he is not trained to think.
That's why it is not the first part we said we love the scripture. So when the child is introduced to scripture slowly, as the intellect grows, the child understands, this is the cause. And through the method that the scripture gives us, that is what we will see, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raj Yoga, all those methods will slowly change.
How the grown-up people can change their vasanas?
That is another question. See, the earlier we change, the easier it becomes. As we grow older, we become more rigid. But then that's more purushartha is required there. It is also a fact that with the experiences, the elder people have more capability also, in fact. Because they have experienced so many things that they can change. But Generally, human being doesn't use the Purusha, so doesn't change. Otherwise, it's possible, one can change. So many great masters have become so great because even at the very elderly stage, they have transformed. So it is still possible. It's not impossible, but yes, the change becomes easier at younger stage. How long does it take to change? Depends on how deep is the vasana and how. It's like how long does it take for a wound to heal? If it's just a small wound, it will heal fast. If it's a proper accident and a lot of damage has happened, it takes that much time. So it depends on what is the type of vasana, quality, all that. So let's see more of this. Here is a nice small paperwork of this about Gurudev's video.
These are unmanifest. Manifest is that which can be perceived by the body, felt by the mind, thought of by the intellect. These are all manifest. But this is unmanifest. Just as unmanifested flowers in that flowering bush in winter or in deep summer, the flowers are not there. But when the springtime comes, all the unmanifested flowers bloom forth. Similarly, these are the silent tendencies in each one of us, which manifest through us, and that is called our personality, our history, our life.
Right. So this much is easy to understand that these are unmanifest tendencies, and the example Gurudev gave is the flowers. So the whole flower is unmanifest in that, let us say, plant or whatever. And it will manifest also in stages. Suddenly the flower won't manifest. It will become a bud, and then slowly it will grow and open slowly, and then it opens. So in the same way, the vasana also manifests in stages. So those three is what we saw: desire in the intellect, thoughts in the mind, actions at the body level. Now let's know more about this vasana.
The flower emerges from the unmanifested to the manifested bloom in various stages of its birth. First it becomes a bud, and then the bud slowly opens the flower. And then slowly in another 2-3 days time. In the same way, they are manifest in each one, manifest into the world outside in different ways. The tendency in you first expresses at the intellectual level as a desire. All of you have got desire. Don't you say that, no, Swamiji, I have no desire. If you have no desires, lie down there. We will attend to your funeral as soon as this talk is over. Only in the funeral ground or the burial ground, you can say that there is no desire in the dead body. So long as you have a manifestation, there will be desire. Why? You are manifested because of the vasana. The vasana is at its that desire will be enormous.
Right. So these desires are the expressions of our vasana. So unless the desire doesn't arise, we don't know what is the quality of the vasana. We don't cause, or what is the type of flower the bird we may not know. The different thing that looking is going to come from this. That's the limitation of the example. In our situation, we don't know what is there in the
Mind.
mind, what is that vasana, which will manifest at what time in the form of a desire. So the only way to understand it is only when it manifests as a desire, then I realize, oh, I have a vasana for this. So many times it happens. No one doesn't even know. One says, till one comes to that experience, one doesn't know. Suppose one starts singing, and then it turns out that oh, such a nice song came out and such nice voice quality and everything. Then one realizes, oh, I have this power to sing and I have a singing vasana also. So till it doesn't manifest as a desire, one doesn't know. So unmanifest vasana will manifest as a desire. Now, at that time itself, I have a choice. Should I follow that desire or not? Generally, human being just follows the desire. If the desire is good, I discriminate and follow. If it is not, then I should drop it. There can be a gossiping vasana. I manifest. When people are gossiping, suddenly I get interested. I also have my two reasons to that. If I am alert, I will realize, no, this is not good. So I don't need to fall from that. So that is the choice that was being said earlier, that human being has a choice to respond and change if one applies this purushartha properly. So the person is what the vasana is. If the vasanas are good and dynamic, the desires will be noble, thoughts are gracious, actions are saintly. If the vasanas are bad, then the vulgar desires, criminal thoughts, murderous activities. So the quality of the vasana determines the quality of that personality. So I am what I am because of my vasanas. Not just what my thoughts are, what my desires are. The quality of the desire and thoughts is influenced by the quality of my vasana. So one has to be alert when they manifest as desire and thoughts. And once I understand, okay, these are vasanas which are there. Now, how did I get those vasanas? I have collected. Like Gurudev said, I have collected in my march of evolution. Just like the class example that we gave. First time you came here, first impression. Like that, many karmas that we have done in the past, we have created those repeated samskar, they have become our vasana. So our mind runs in that direction, our desires come out in that direction. Human being has the special ability to transform the existing vasanas and create new ones. So from harmful vasanas, I can transform them into good vasanas. For some things I may not have a vasana, but I can cultivate it. That is the freedom. Some vasanas I can drop, some I can cultivate. And ultimately, I have to transcend the vasanas completely to realize the seva. That's the last stage. But before that is the transformation, the purification of the vasana has to happen. So not only the quality of vasanas, but also the quantity of vasanas makes a very important big difference. Because every vasana will manifest as desire, thought, and action. So if I have more quantity of vasanas, many more desires, many more thoughts, lots of action has to happen. So that personality will be dynamic or even to some extent restless. Can't sit quietly. If you think about it, what is one of the most difficult things to do in the world is to sit quietly. Physically, if I sit quietly, I can still manage. But mentally, the mind just goes round, full time. Your homework for this week can be that. Every day spend only just 10 minutes. It's doing nothing, just sit quietly. The question is only what to do at that time. That's the whole point to understand that we are so much driven by action. I have to do something because my thoughts compel me. Why are my thoughts compelling me? Because I have vasanas. The vasana is to do something. Vasana is not for silence. Vasana is not for quietude. So then I am restless. And also I've been taught like that. So I am the cultivated vasana. Keep doing something. Nothing wrong in doing by itself, nothing wrong in doing. But when I'm compelled by it, that I can't sit quietly when I want to, then there is something that I need to transform. How can I be a victim of this? So more vasanas means more desire. Now you just think even one desire, to fulfill one desire, many thoughts rise or not. If you want to come here, desire is only one, but so many thoughts. Will I be able to go, not go? What time I slept previous night? Tomorrow morning, what time I can get up? Take a transport? How do I reach there? What after the class? So many thoughts will come. One desire. Imagine one desire creates so many thoughts in our mind. Many desires will create so many more. And then human being will feel there is no peace of mind. Why that has happened? Because vasana pressure is very high. So vasana pressure is a technical term in Vedanta where we say the quality of vasanas and the quantity of vasanas exerts a pressure on our mind and intellect, and that is how we respond the way we respond. So minimum vasanas are there, minimum desires, minimum agitations, minimum self-assurance.
So you know that your close on the dear and the bad vasana. You try to control it. Coffee, you addicted to coffee. So at time that person will be nice. So we have a right to change the vasana or that we only decide?
So we can give the environment where we can provide the knowledge, we can provide support, where we can help that person to come out of it. But it is the willingness of that person and therefore that person takes which will help that person to come out or not. As people who are well-wishers, we can only give the right support. Whether they take it, they change it, that is only completely their choice. Because they have come with the baggage. They will have certain pressure. Sometimes we may feel that, okay, they should transform by this time in this way, but they may not. Because they are carrying some baggage in such a way that they may take more time. Or they may not transform immediately at all. Maybe it takes some more years. So many things like that. That's why the best thing Vedanta tells us is that we can only change ourselves. We cannot change anybody else because each one is a product of their own vasana. And what they have to go through sometimes, they will have to go through only and learn. Sometimes we become very protective as parents also for children. But the experience of the parent cannot help the child unless the child goes through some things. So some things are like that. The child only has to go through and learn. Will fall only and like simple in walking. The child will fall 3-4 times, then only learn to walk properly. Parent may have a great experience of walking. But unless the child doesn't learn that, it will not be able to walk properly. It is like that. So vasanas are like that.
So we need to draw a line and then
Right. We have to draw the line. This much I can do. Beyond this, I cannot do. Another example for that is the pupa, that cuckoo, the butterfly. Now it will transform within, and at the right time, that cocoon will break and it will open, and then it will become a butterfly. It will fly out. But if we in hurry, we say, you tear it open. Now that butterfly has not grown, which are now flying, will keep leaping throughout because it's premature. It has been disturbed. So many times it happens like that. The transformation has to happen from within. Now the individual only has to go through. We can provide the right environment and then leave it.
When we try to change our own vasanas, so intellectually we know that something is not good for us, but then why are we still unable to implement it?
That's because the vasana is strong and my knowledge today, I have to bring it much more strongly to counteract that.
So how to do that?
That is the purusha. That's the purusha. With the knowledge, we have to see, it depends on what is the quality of that vasana, right? So suppose I have a, just example, say coffee example. I'm very deeply addicted to coffee. I have to drink. Now, maybe I'm carrying it for such a long time. I have the knowledge that coffee, I have become dependent. I want to get out of it. Now, what is the means? By just saying I want to get out of it, it will not work. I have to create a negative impression to counteract this. So that is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. Every time the desire to drink coffee comes, I have to list down what all harmful effects are there of addiction by itself. And then coffee in specific. Because the pleasure that I'm deriving out of coffee is what making me go towards it. That pleasurable aspect is much more in my head today than the painful aspect. I have to counteract it with the painful aspect. That is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. As well as I must learn to, not fall for it. Suppose I'm drinking 5 times a day, I need to stop. If I can't stop fully, say, okay, I will drink only once a day. Rest of the 4 times, I will not. And at those 4 times, when the urge comes, use Pratipaksha Bhavana. Slowly, what will happen? Because I have understood the painful aspect of it, and if I find another substitute, which is a better option, then it will become easier that whenever the urge to drink coffee comes, I take the substitute. Then slowly, that coffee vasana will transform. So that has to be done, but that's called purusha. That effort has to be put. The difficulty is in resisting that temptation because of the pleasurable part. That this makes me feel good. So I need to find better sources of happiness for it, as well as find the painful aspect of this.
So it's not suppression of your desires, but just understanding.
Correct. That's what the earlier chapter we learned about sublimation. And why do I want to come out of coffee? That's my purpose. My purpose is that I want to have self-mastery, or if my purpose is no, coffee is harmful for my health, so I don't want to have coffee. Whatever is my purpose, that purpose, understanding of that purpose brings this ability. Then it is not suppression. If it is sheerly willpower, where I don't have a purpose, a higher purpose is not there, then there is possibility of suppression. But if it is done with a higher understanding, the proper purpose, clarity is there, why I am doing it, then it is not suppression, that is sublimation.
Does it mean no one can help other person to transform himself?
We can provide the support, but we cannot make that person transform.
How to make that
You
person?
cannot. You cannot. That's the whole point. We cannot make that person change. Unless that person wants to change, we cannot make that person change.
For me, all the vasanas resulting in selfish action.
No, selfish vasanas will lead to selfish action. Selfless vasana will lead to selfless action. The quality of the vasana will determine the texture.
Also, there is one school of thought that says that you can exhaust your vasanas by fulfilling. So, is that also one means, or that is just
No. From karma standpoint, when we see every vasana creates a new vasana. Exhausting the vasana can happen only through proper thinking. And definitely, yes, when you go through it, you see the painful side of it, then you can drop it. But the dropping is not happening because only you went through it. The dropping is happening because you saw the painful side and you did not allow a pleasurable vasana to go in. You understood, no, this is pain.
your intellectual understanding
Is helping you to drop. Not just exhausting. Because that will contradict the whole mechanism of action. So as we see the mechanism of action, I will come to it at that time also. We'll see more about that.
So the adults have got a vasanas over the period of 1 million. But as in children, their vasanas are coming from their
Past lives, past lives, past human lives, past human lives. Not, no, I should not say human life, past lives, correct. Past lives, whatever I have evolved till now, from a unicellular till the human being, 84 lakh species one goes through, not 84 lakh birth. 84 lakh yonis it is called, not Janma. Each species I would have gone through so many lives. You think about it. As a dog, it's not one life as a dog. I may be born as a dog for 5-10 times in that yoni.
So we as a parent
So I've collected impressions in the past. So as an animal, just to complete that thought, as an animal, what is the law? The law in the jungle is what? Survival of the fittest. So I have to be constantly on lookout for enemies, for people, for the attack can happen. So I am all the time insecure. Now when I come into human being as a individual, I am carrying forward that mindset. So that's why there is fierceness, there is competition, there is insecurity, there is all that which is there in the human mind because I've collected in the past. All those tendencies I've collected in the past. Slowly, as I learn more things and the power of human being and then the society and many of those, then slowly I start transforming. So as parents, we can give the right environment, give the good knowledge to make this mind intellect more and more integrated, stronger, expose them to positive aspects, exploration, all those things one can do. Slowly only it will change. Because what that person has brought, we don't know. But the person knows slowly when the person learns to understand, okay, vasana manifests a desire, thoughts, actions, so what type of vasana do I have? So the scriptural guidance will help us to understand my personality type. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, all that will come. As we go along, it will come. So then through that we understand, introspect, these are the type of vasanas. So if I have a lot of tamasic vasanas, how do I transform it to rajasic and then from rajasic to sattvic? That's the Purushartha. So that whole knowledge is what we have to expose them. Which is why we say the earlier we expose them to spiritual knowledge, the greater is the capability to transform.
So I mean, sometimes at a point, when we are trying to inculcate them, by example, they just want to resist it and they just don't want
That's why I'm saying it will take the time. They will take their own time. We want to make them do certain things in a certain way. Within the certain time, it will not work within that time. But if we have given the right input, it will happen. Our job is only that much. We cannot, you just think if that was possible, Hiranyakashipu would have transformed Prahlad, finished. Prahlad resisted. So some places the resistance is there because the karma of that person is like that. Which is good also, which is bad also. Sometimes for good things also the children resist because they don't understand, they are not very mature right now. So it will take some time. So we have to wait. And after a point, if it doesn't work, it is their karma. One has to have that vow, otherwise we will be disappointed. That's why the first part we spoke about is detachment. Beyond the point we cannot do, we can only do a certain thing. So that's the line that one has to draw. So vasanas, we spoke about quality of vasana and quantity of vasana. Quantity of vasana, the more quantity means more restlessness in the personality. A realized person is where in the quiet moments of meditation one has transcended no vasana, no thoughts, no desires, absolutely one with the Lord. When we say no vasanas meaning no selfish vasanas, absolutely zero. That is the power transformation that spirituality tells us. Purify the vasanas, reduce the quantity, and eliminate this feeling that I am this finite individual. Then I realize that I am actually in pure consciousness. See, it is the vasana pressure which is not allowing me to meditate and know my own true self. To meditate steadily, the vasana pressure must be reduced. Otherwise, the mind will sit to meditate and then some physical problem will come. It is very hot or it is very cold or I want to eat this or I want to go there. Some desire will come up and then immediately one goes up. One is not able to meditate properly because the vasana pressure is a lot, which one has not changed. And that's why when today people want to join meditation, without understanding these factors, I want to sit and meditate. And then I'm not able to meditate properly. Maximum 5-10 minutes I'm able to do. 30 minutes, 40 minutes is already such a long time. Either I go to sleep or the mind wanders and I'm getting frustrated because the purification of vasanas has not happened. Quantity of vasanas has not reduced. And with such a loaded mind I'm sitting there, then that is the challenge. It will not happen. But if I follow the process, meditation comes last. If I follow karma yoga, upasana, all those processes I follow, then I come to meditation, automatically it will happen. Beautifully it will happen. Because I went through it in the way in which it should be done. So even in the course you will see here, meditation will come last part. The last portion of this course, last 4 or 5 lessons are only meditation. But before that, this whole background is to be done. The whole foundation has to be laid.
On meditation, is it like when you sit, I try to eliminate thoughts or I just focus the mind on like one thing like Om or something?
No, I will explain that when we come to meditation. Because it is not concentration. That is only a support system. So when we come to meditation, I will explain that part, that what exactly that is. Because we have to learn some things before that. Then we will know, okay, this is not meditation. And this exactly is meditation. So we come. So Gurudev explains here now, this whole thing what we just now discussed. He goes on to explain.
Let's see you first expresses at the intellectual level as a desire. All of you have got desire. Don't you say that, no, somebody, I have no desire. If you have no desires, lie down there. We will attend to your funeral as soon as this talk is over. Only in the funeral ground or the burial ground, you can say that there is no desire in the dead body. So long as you have a manifestation, there will be desire. Why? You are manifested because of the vasana. The vasanas are to express. That desires will be in all. When a desire rises in the intellect, the subtlest of your personality, it slowly comes to a grosser state in the mind, and the desire of the intellect will expresses at the mental level, it expresses as mental agitation, betrayal. Isn't it? Everybody says that. No, my mind is always in these moments. You should have complained that my mind is agitated. Why don't you keep quiet and watch? What is the agitation about? You will find at any given moment your agitation is always expression of the most powerful desire that you are entertaining. You want to purchase a car, your agitation will be only car. Which car, what car, where car, what car, white car. Correct. If your desire is for coffee, your mind is not available for anything else. You may try to read something, you can't read. You start hearing the smell of coffee, hear the sound of cups, see not the book that you are reading, but the coffee with fumes. That's very low. Until that you have to get up from there, get the coffee wherever it is available, by fair means or foul means. And once the coffee has come, the mind is available for you. Very often, you get a cup of coffee, keep it there and start your work. And you are so immersed in the work, because the mind is available, you forget that there is a coffee. Haven't you seen that after 1 hour or 1.5 hours, you see the dead coffee sitting there? And have you not drunk that dead coffee? Because after all, I paid for it. The sugar stomach becomes the garbage can. Pour it there. Cigarette. As you are working in the typewriter, you feel cigarette. You keep it in the ashtray. And go on typing. And your typing becomes continuous until at last the whole cigarette has become one piece of ash. Had to burn it. It's not that the system wants coffee. It's not that our body wants cigarette. But that desire created the agitation. The agitation is satisfied because I like the cigarette. Then the mind is available for my work. And when I once enter into work, the joy of work, I forget it. Until the next time the desire for cigarette is like, oh yes, where is my cigarette? Although the whole thing is burned. You like another one and keep it there. Change finally happens. It's very often. That is to say, Vasana expresses at the intellectual level as desire. The desire in the intellect, when it expresses the mental level, it becomes agitation. Agitation of the mind, when fully manifest outside at the body level, are called your acts. So if the vasanas are good, your actions must be good. Why? Your desires will be noble, your thoughts gracious, naturally your actions saintly. Why? Your tendencies are good. Even the tendencies are bad. Vulgar desires, criminal thoughts, murderous activity. So when you judge another man and say that he is a sinner, he is a dirty fellow, please, you don't know the material. Have sympathy. He is a product of his past. That is why Jesus so lovingly said, hate not the sinner, hate the sin. The sinner, like a patient, is helpless, but hate the disease, hate that the sin, the wrong change in him, but he cannot but express it. It's not only in the quality of your desire, vasanas determine the quality of your personality, but also the quantity of vasanas that you have brought with you. You are born with the vasana, into vasana. We discussed it in the beginning, 17 chapter, and 18 chapter. The quantity may be more. So if there are more vasanas, each vasana has to come to a desire, and therefore a platoon of desire one after another, erupting. And we need to be there. So your mind is in a storm at all times. Can't even sleep without some yellow and blue feeling. Why to sleep? I can't sleep. Why can't you sleep? My mind is really dynamic. Meaning what? Too much agitation. Why? Too much of desire. And such an individual, each of those agitations to satisfy the to undertake some project or the other. It is such people who work 18 hours a day, 7 days of a week, running around the world, doing work, and people like magic. And this fellow came with $5 into this country, and today he has got to 20 million. And he's got business here, there, and he's now going to open up in Indonesia. And by 35 or 40, we hear that he is dead. Why? His body could not stand that strain. Thrombosis, life. And everybody appreciates what a dynamic. So creative. So much. And nobody to look after everything. He himself will be. Why is it that he is working like that? You can't stop it. Because of his life. Thus vasanas express as desires become, agitations become actions. These actions are prompted by desires, we put up by the agitation. When the vasanas are less desires, therefore, less agitations, therefore, less desire prompted action. Activities may not be less because your hands and legs are on the same line. It's not that the hands have gone into the stomach. Why? Because no desire is there, therefore hands gone. No. So you can work, but less selfish activity. Minimum vasanas, minimum desires, minimum agitations, minimum selfish. The rest is all selfish. Suppose you have no other. No desire, therefore, no agitation, therefore, not a single selfish act. Is not such an individual whom we adore, worship, revere, as a sin. They try to function to gain. Did Buddha work in order to build a palace for himself? They want nothing, expect nothing, demand nothing, because they have no desire. And then they are functioning in the world outside, expressing their infinite love for the world. We adore and respect and revere him as a God man upon earth.
Right. So this personality reconstruction is reconstruction of what? The development of proper vasanas, positive vasanas, and development of vasanas in such a way that we reduce the quantity. So by purifying and reforming the vasanas, this mind and intellect gets tuned properly. There's a disintegration in the mind intellect because of the vasana pressure. That when we reduce, the mind and intellect come together. And such individuals then make up the healthy society. That how we live in this world, each individual is a product of their vasanas. So if each individual becomes integrated, that whole family, society, and the nation and the whole world becomes integrated. So it cannot happen by suddenly bringing a revolution. It can happen slowly by evolution of each individual. If the vasana is very, very selfish, in the whole world, when each one is living with selfishness, then there will be corruption, greed, war, violence, all that will happen. But if each one vasana becomes sattvic, we transform predominantly the vasanas of the individuals, then the whole globe, there will be peace, harmony, happiness. And so the 4 yogas, as we see in the course material, you will go through that. But the solution is that the 4 yogas are to transform the quality and reduce the quantity. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, raja yoga. So part of knowledge is jnana yoga, part of devotion is bhakti yoga, part of action is karma yoga, and part of mysticism is raja yoga. All this will be dealt with later. So to rehabilitate this mind and to make that individual strong, any of the 4 or a combination of these 4 yogas is what one has to take up. Each of them is a specific technique. And very powerful, beautiful techniques these are, how we can apply them in our life. And you will see how great masters have transformed is because they have applied all of these techniques. So you will see how the transformation happens. So each creature is a product of their vasanas, no doubt, but at the same time, we don't have to feel victimized. We have the capability as human beings to be able to change. That animal cannot change. A tiger cannot become a, herbivorous animal. It is what we call it. Nature has programmed it like that. But human being is definitely influenced by the past vasana. But we have the purusha, the faculty of discrimination, the buddhi, which we can use to transform. And so this part we will take up in our next class, which is this mechanism of action. First part of the chapter is what we have completed so far. That is about the path to perfection. Perfection is achieved when I transform the vasanas, reduce the quantity, and realize my true nature. What we have done so far, see, this portion is a very important portion. This vasana, desire, thoughts, action, this mechanism of action to understand clearly. So if you have not read the lesson so far, I would suggest you go home, read the whole lesson, lesson number 4. And if you have doubts, you mark. Next class when we meet, when we cover the lesson, see if your doubts are cleared, otherwise ask the doubts. Because this, if we don't understand properly, then the whole spiritual part we won't understand properly. And vasana is a little subtle topic. So you can do that as your homework.
When you are pure of something, that also you vasana.
Yeah. Either some past impression is there, or I have heard something and then I'm scared. So there will be some
experience also.
Experience. Yeah. Something I've gone through in the past and I'm fearing that may happen. So everything that we go through in this life is all an expression of my vasana. If I don't have a vasana for it, it will not come. I will not respond in that way.
You can say it's desire.
It manifests as desire. Then only we recognize it. But there is a vasana for it.
I have just a personal question. Now, if I feel the urge that I want to do more of Vedanta study, and I want to devote more time to it, but parents feel that you have very prosperous job, why do you want to quit in the long run? You need to their security. We have duties to fulfill. So how do you move towards the unselfish action when you have to perform these duties or take a decision to actually quit and do something for your own spiritual growth?
So one aspect is that spiritual growth can happen even along with performance of my duty. How much, what line I put, as you said, for my basic security and maintenance, how much I need, etc. That much line I can put for that much, like he said, minimum selfish actions. So for maintenance, I do whatever I need to do. Even those I can actually dedicate to Bhagavan and everything becomes unselfish. That is the path of karma that we will see. That is one option to do, that do such, divide the life, like 30% is for, let us say, profession and other things for maintenance. 70% is service and unselfish work, if I want to divide like that. Or do whatever gives me more happiness in terms of service. And in that itself, see how can I can run basic maintenance. Then the whole life becomes full of service. Or the third option is whatever I'm doing as a profession, that also I do with the karma, and rest of it is unselfish, so whole life anyway is spiritual. So whichever option I can take. People have this misunderstanding, so with parents and anybody else also, one has to clear this, that spiritual life doesn't mean that I will not take care of myself or duties and all that. I will do all that. But my heart lies in this. That one has to communicate and put their concerns to rest, but that this is the way in which I'm going to be able to take care of myself, so don't worry. Because sometimes they may not know, because earlier days people used to think like that only. Even today many think like that. And if we come to spirituality, we have to drop every single thing. Not necessarily. Externally I may still have, but internally I have evolved. So those things one has to explain. Many people, they don't send their youngsters to our Chinmaya Yuva Kendra. Why? Because they think he is sannyasi ban jayega. Anybody coming into the spiritual organization doesn't become a sannyasi. It is not possible. And very difficult to live as a sannyasi. But they are scared. They have their own concern. But they think that, we will lose interest in life. So they will also keep saying, do everything in moderation. Now we tell you, it's okay, don't go regularly. Because they are scared that interest in life will go away. They will tell them to live in self-control. They will tell them happiness is not in the world outside. Be content, so ambition will go away. Okay, but if they are saying that be content, they are also saying be inspired, have higher goal, manifest your potential more. That they are not able to see clearly. So those fears are there. So those fears we have to remove, make them assured. Right. Yeah. This activity has to be done next week.
One question.
Last question.
Medicines bring a change in a depressed or even an educated person. Of course, it is very short period and then they come down to the moment they stop the medicine, it come many people. There are some people who overcome that and that. So that means that all these things are caused by imbalance in the blood chemicals in the body. That is what the doctor said. Here the vasanas.
But that's the whole point there. The physical cause can be removed by physical medicine. Correct? Like if there is a hormonal imbalance in the body, that's you take a medicine to set that right. But the hormonal imbalance is not the only cause. No. There is a cause inside, which is a thought process. The thought process is influenced by my desires and my vasanas. And that is the reason, as you said, the answer is in your question only. When you said that when we stop the medicine, then again it comes back. Why it comes back? Because it is the mind and intellect is not transformed. So which is why the deeper aspect is this. So one may need to do both. The physical imbalance has to be checked with the physical medicine, and the mental, intellectual, and the spiritual aspect has to be done through proper understanding and attitudinal changes. So unless both come together, it will not work. Also depends on what is the intensity of all that. Like we said, the quality of vasanas and all that. So it determines. But the main aspect is that the deeper cause is inside. Body is only the external guard. And even psychology says that one. Long psychology also says it's in our mind, it's not only at the body level. Subconscious mind, unconscious mind.
Was the problem.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnavadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha Hari Om